Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Every soul master's way of cultivation, especially their circulation path, was their biggest secret. Even though Huo Yuhao might not have been able to find out much about Tang Wutong's circulation path, being given permission to inject his soul power into her was already an immense hint as to how she felt about him. After hearing what Tang Wutong said, Huo Yuhao revealed an expression of regret. He really regretted attempting to verify Tang Wutong's identity. If he had not tried to do so, he could still live happily in the illusion that she was actually Wang Donga, even if Wang Donga refused to be with him. But his attempt to verify her identity completely destroyed the illusion, and left Huo Yuhao with no hope. He completely gave up on Tang Wutong after realizing that she was not Wang Donga. As Tang Wutong paused, Zhong Lishuan interjected, "Tang Wutong, are you done with your confession?" Tang Wutong shook her head fervently and clarified, "Not yet. Let me finish what I have to say." Zhong Lishuan frowned, "Then you'd better hurry. If you take up too much time, it would be unfair to the others." "I understand," Tang Wutong replied, before hastily shifting her gaze back to Huo Yuhao. "I'm running out of time, but there's so much I want to say to you. Yuhao, I am standing before you today, just like I did back then, when you chose me even before you saw my appearance. Can you take me with you today? I have so much to say to you." He stared calmly at Tang Wutong, but his heart was wrenching with pain. "Tang Wutong, why must you bring up such things? You are not Donga, and never will be. Even though you may look like her, you are ultimately not her. How can I take you with me?" Zhong Lishuan announced, "All right. Now that everyone is done, it's now Yuhao's turn to make his decision. Yuhao, the time is now yours." Huo Yuhao nodded at Zhong Lishuan and Han Ruoruo before turning his attention to the four ladies before him. He sighed and apologized. "I'm deeply grateful for the attention and affection which all of you have showered upon me. But to be very honest, I didn't intend to come today. I already have a certain lady in my heart. A girl who I met at my previous fated blind date. We met each other back then and got together. However, something peculiar happened to her, and she has disappeared. Even now, I'm unable to find her. However, this doesn't change the fact that my heart can only contain her and no one else. Until the end of my life, I can only love her and her only. The only reason why I attended this blind date is because all single students of the inner courtyard must attend. Because of this, I'm terribly sorry for what I have put all of you through. Bai Se and Su Tong, feel free to look for me for a duel whenever either of you wish. I'm open to such challenges." With that, he turned around to look at Zhong Lishuan before saying, "Eldest senior sister, let's call it a day. I will take my leave now and not interfere with the other students' blind date." After finishing his sentence, Huo Yuhao nodded at Zhong Lishuan and Han Ruoruo and turned to leave. "Hold on." At this very moment, three voices simultaneously demanded that he stop. Huo Yuhao turned around and realized that the three voices belonged to Bai Se, Su Tong, and Tang Wutong. Bai Se spoke anxiously, "You can't leave like this. Do you know how hard it is to bump into you in person? If I were to miss this opportunity to spar with you today, I'm not sure how long I would have to wait before I got to see you in person again. Let's just spar today." Su Tong gave him a cold sneer. "That's right. Even if you didn't choose us, you should at the very least spar with us before leaving. I want to prove to everyone present that I am stronger than you." After both of them clarified their reasons, it was Tang Wutong's turn to speak, but she merely bit her lip and kept quiet. No one knew what was on her mind. But slowly, she looked back up at Huo Yuhao with a determined stare. Huo Yuhao frowned as memories of Wang Donga were awakened by this fated blind date. Burdened by the heartache from those memories, all Huo Yuhao wanted to do was leave this blind date and find a quiet corner to hide. However, these ladies were overbearing, and they were getting on his nerves. "Okay. Since both of you are so interested in challenging me, why don't I perform 2 moves, and both of you try to replicate them. If either of you can replicate them, I will willingly concede defeat. Huo Yuhao's voice was not particularly loud, but everyone present, regardless of whether they were above the lake or all the way at the lakeside, could hear him clearly. At that very instant, the students from the outer courtyard stood up in unison in excitement. They were about to witness Huo Yuhao, the owner of the Eyes of the Azura, the Academy's youngest ever member of the Sea Gods Pavilion, the founder of the Spirit Pagoda, and the inventor of spirits, perform before their very eyes. Was he really going to demonstrate his abilities in front of everyone? Oh, what a sight that would be! The students from the outer courtyard had long wanted to see spirits, an important lesson module within Shrek Academy, which had been made famous by word of mouth, with their own eyes. Nothing could beat watching the inventor use what he had invented, right? Everyone had huge expectations for the upcoming display from Huo Yuhao. Just when everyone was hyped up for what they were about to see, Huo Yuhao took a step forward and left the lily pad beneath him. As he stood calmly above the surface of the lake, a thick circle of ice, with a diameter of roughly 2 meters formed beneath his feet, and took his weight. Huo Yuhao nodded politely towards Baiser before gazing up at the sky. At that very instant, his eyes appeared to lose focus, as though his attention had drifted off and away into the skies. However, this only lasted for a short while before a massive change followed. An incredibly strong sense of nostalgia rippled out into the surroundings from him. His emotions appeared to be pouring out of his gaze. He took a step forward off the ice into the empty space before him. Huo Yuhao levitated above the lake as his soul rings started to rise from his feet. Every soul ring's color was pristine and free from any form of adulteration. The white, black, gold and red rings were all equally impressive as all 7 rings shone brilliantly with their individual colors. The energy coming off of Huo Yuhao's body was way beyond what any normal 7-ringed soul sage could produce. The outer courtyard students by the lake were not able to differentiate it, but the inner courtyard students, who were a lot nearer, were all stupefied. Even though he only had 7 soul rings, Huo Yuhao seemed to be giving off the energy levels of an 8-ringed soul sage. Unless he has already become an 8-ringed soul sage. But if that is the case, why would he only have 7 rings? Of course, Huo Yuhao would not give away the answer. Before anyone knew it, he suddenly struck a fist up towards the sky. At that very instant, his whole body turned golden. In fact, the soul rings surrounding him all turned golden as well. The intent from his punch left a deep impression in everyone's hearts. Everyone present could feel a powerful feeling of nostalgia surging from the depths of their hearts. Images of the ones they missed the most formed in everyone's minds simultaneously. Some missed their mothers, while others missed their fathers. But what was common between those mental images was the love they all had for the ones whom they missed the most. The power of that fist's intent was so strong that even the titled Doluor on the ship were affected by the yearning for one's loved one. At that very instant, everyone, including Elder Xian, Yang Shaozhe, and the other powerful Doluor, had their emotions affected to different extents by Huo Yuhao's move. Immediately following this moving performance, a powerful golden glow exploded into the air as his golden fist transformed into a pillar of golden radiance, shooting straight up into the heavens, illuminating the entirety of the Sea God's Lake, and the whole of the Sea God's Island. At that very instant, all of Shrek Academy was painted in gold. Baiser, who was standing just opposite Huo Yuhao, was completely stunned by what she had just seen. How was she going to replicate such a powerful move executed by the guy who was floating in mid-air before her? The move Huo Yuhao had performed contained a scary amount of spiritual intent, and Baiser was certain that she would be severely injured, or even killed if such a blow landed on her. She knew very well that even if she were currently at the Soul Sage level, instead of her current Soul Emperor level, she would not have been able to take the blow. Why is the intensity of the soul power fluctuations radiating from his body beyond that of an ordinary soul sage? Is he still human? At this very instant, Baiser realized Huo Yuhao's figure was indelibly imprinted in her mind. His magnificent golden figure was now an immovable image in the depths of her heart. As the golden color in the sky gradually faded away, the students from Shrek Academy slowly collected themselves after witnessing Huo Yuhao's move. However, just when they thought they had recovered from the shock, they were met with another unbelievable sight. Yes, it appeared that something in the sky had once again surprised them. There was another person. Someone completely golden. This person's silhouette was incredibly beautiful. Her long dress weighed down perfectly, her long hair covered her back gracefully, while her beauty glowed in a gentle yet alluring way. She appeared to be looking into the distance, as though she were waiting or yearning for someone. The students from the outer courtyard could not see it clearly, but those from the inner courtyard who were participating in the sea god's fated blind date were shocked, because the levitating person looked exactly like Tang Wutong. Only those who had seen Wang Donga before knew that that person was not Tang Wutong. Wang Donga, the former goddess of light, used to have wavy hair, but the person levitating in the air had straight hair. But yes, that person was none other than Wang Donga, the person who had stolen away Huo Yuhao's heart. This scene was utterly breathtaking. Wang Donga was gazing down at Huo Yuhao from high up in the air, while Huo Yuhao returned her stare lovingly from a lower altitude. The entire sea god's lake was theirs, and everyone else present was invisible. No one wanted to let out a scream of excitement or exhilaration anymore. While they were all shocked beyond belief, they did not want to spoil the beautiful scene, Huo Yuhao and Wang Donga's reunion, taking place before their eyes. Tang Wutong was in a daze, as she looked at Huo Yuhao not far from her. Right now, for some reason, she felt that the distance between him and her was so far that it was unbridgeable. Tang Wutong took in a deep breath, and tried to get rid of that feeling. However, everything was in vain. She knew that she wouldn't be able to forget the look in his eyes as he gazed at Wang Donga. She was now immersed in Wang Donga's world. Finally, the golden projection in the sky slowly dimmed down as Huo Yuhao looked on reluctantly. The night sky became quiet once again, and all of Shrek Academy seemed to quiet down with it. Is this even humanly possible? How did he do this? Were the questions in every student's mind. Only the more experienced inner courtyard students and teachers could roughly guess that it was the most advanced self-invented soul skill of a soul master. Only the most outstanding soul masters could do something like this. Furthermore, Huo Yuhao's self-invented soul skill fused his martial soul, soul power, and spiritual power. It even contained his emotions, his yearning for Wang Donga. It was the fist of remembrance, a fist containing a surging feeling of remembrance. The yearning in Huo Yuhao's eyes was slowly withdrawn. What replaced it was a deep look. He looked at Bai Se again and nodded to her. Do you still want to challenge me now? Bai Se laughed bitterly and shook her head. She replied, although I knew that the gap between you and me was huge, I didn't expect it to be that huge. I've already lost my courage to challenge you. I'll consider it again, when I have the courage. As she finished speaking, she paused for a moment and took a serious look at Huo Yuhao before saying, however, Senior, did you know? After you demonstrated this move, I've become even more curious about you. I've even developed an admiration for you. To me, admiration should be the precondition for love. I won't give up easily, I'll work harder to understand you. I heard that you're from the Tang sect. After I graduate, I want to join the Tang sect. Huo Yuhao smiled and said, the Tang sect welcomes you, and I accept your challenge anytime. All right. Bai Se answered. After this, she turned to Zhong Lishuan and Han Ruoruo, and said with a high-pitched voice, Seniors, I've already decided to pull out of this fated blind date. After seeing what Senior Yuhao has demonstrated, I'm only keen on cultivating further. I'll make a move first. After she finished speaking, she jumped away and proceeded towards the shore. After watching her leave, Zhong Lishuan revealed a frustrated look on her face. She thought to herself, Yuhao is too charismatic. He can infect anyone everywhere he goes. Huo Yuhao had already turned his attention to number 11, Su Tong. Su Tong still had her bamboo hat and veil over her head, the veil still covering her face. At least on the surface, no one could tell what her feelings were. At this moment, Huo Yuhao's 7 soul rings slowly winked out. Don't you want to demonstrate your abilities to me, too? What I want to see are not your self-invented soul skills. Su Tong said to Huo Yuhao in a high-pitched voice. However, if she could hear her voice right now, she would definitely be stunned to discover that she lacks some of the self-confidence she normally possessed. Huo Yuhao nodded at her and said, "I'll satisfy you, then." Soul rings started to rise from Huo Yuhao's body again. However, everyone was shocked to find out that the soul rings that re-emerged weren't the same color as they were before. They were different now. Of the 7 soul rings that rose earlier, the first one was white. This time, the first soul ring to rise was red, blood red. It was as red as Shrek Academy's uniform, even deeper and darker. It was a red that represented strength. 100,000-year soul ring, many people exclaimed in astonishment. What followed were the rest of Huo Yuhao's soul rings. They left everyone in complete shock. There were 7 more soul rings after the first one, 4 orange and 3 red ones. In total, there were 8 soul rings. Half were orange and half were red. A red soul ring was a 100,000-year soul ring. This was basic knowledge that every soul master knew. But what did orange represent? The students from Shrek Academy, whether they were from the inner or outer courtyards, had never heard of orange soul rings before. They didn't even know what an orange soul ring represented. Everyone was flabbergasted. They looked at Huo Yuhao like he was a freak. Huo Yuhao gradually lit up with a jade green glow. All 8 soul rings were quietly drifting around him. The clear water of the sea god's lake started to crystallize at an alarming speed. Very soon, a tough icy layer spread all the way beneath the feet of both the male and female students on Sea God's Lake. As the surface beneath them hardened, they were able to relax in controlling their soul power. The speed of the crystallization was even increasing. In just a matter of seconds, the entire Sea God's Lake rippled with a layer of icy fog. Yes, Sea God's Lake had frozen up. The entirety of Sea God's Lake was covered with ice. The temperature in the air dipped significantly in just a short period of time. Everyone could sense the intense chill. However, the outer courtyard students could still handle the chill, as the chill only came from the surface of the lake. Without even using a soul skill or performing any visible action, Huo Yuhao managed to freeze the entire Sea God's Lake. Although Sea God's Lake wasn't a true lake, it was still expansive. How easy was it to freeze the whole thing? Moreover, Huo Yuhao had unleashed 8 soul rings, and the color of every soul ring was astonishing. The students of Shrek had all heard that he had twin martial souls. However, it was their first time seeing twin martial souls with their own eyes. He had 2 martial souls. One was 7-ringed, and the other was 8-ringed. He was a soul Doluor who was barely 20 years old. If Huo Yuhao was only a myth in the academy in the past, he was now transforming according to the myth right now. Even Elder Xian was astonished. Since when did this fellow have 8 soul rings? They're even 100,000-year soul rings. Yang Xiaozhe took this opportunity to say, "Elder Xian, now do you believe that he doesn't have to wait until the future to replace me, right? He can just directly take over from you." Huo Yuhao calmly said to Su Tong, who was standing where she was without saying anything or moving an inch, "If you can turn the lake back into water, you win. You should know that ice-type controllers like us take control of temperature first. I'm not taking advantage of you in any way." Su Tong nodded silently. However, she didn't say anything before suddenly jumping up and heading. Everyone around knew that she couldn't undo what Huo Yuhao had managed to do so easily. Huo Yuhao turned to Zhong Lishuan and Han Ruoruo and said, "Seniors, let's leave the lake frozen. It will melt slowly on its own. It'll also make things easier for the other students of this fated blind date. Apologies for taking everyone's time." Huo Yuhao nodded at the male and female students to acknowledge them. "I should be able to leave now. The academy invited me over because they wanted me to demonstrate my abilities and inspire everyone to cultivate. I've helped them achieve their goal." "Wait a minute." Huo Yuhao appeared slightly dissatisfied as he was halted once again. He wasn't in a good mood right now. He was starting to become a little angry, as he was stopped over and over again. However, his anger dissipated when he saw the person who had halted him. There was no more complicated look in Tang Wutong's eyes now. Her determined gaze was flashing with golden light. Even though she wasn't Wang Donga, she still looked very similar to her. No matter what, Huo Yuhao couldn't bring himself to be angry with her. You've already demonstrated your abilities to them. What about me? Tang Wutong said calmly. Huo Yuhao furrowed his brow and asked, Tang Wutong, are you challenging me? Why not, since the rules allow it? Tang Wutong replied calmly. Huo Yuhao sighed and replied, but I don't want to fight you. I'm not in the mood, either. You should know that I won't hurt you. Tang Wutong said, what if I insist? Huo Yuhao's eyes flashed, and he said coldly, how do you want to fight, then? Tang Wutong revealed a smile. It seemed rather weird. It appeared to be a teasing smile, but very uncomfortable, too. When the two expressions came together, it indeed made her smile appear a little odd. Huo Yuhao's heart skipped a beat when he saw her smile. For some reason, he felt something was about to happen. Tang Wutong said, forget it. I don't want to fight you either. Although I don't think that I'll lose to you, you taught me that day that I shouldn't bite the hand that fed me. What do you want, then? Huo Yuhao asked. Tang Wutong replied, do you still remember our time in the Star Luo Empire? Back then, you used your soul power to check my power before you left. I agreed to your request back then. Right now, I want to do the same to you. I want to try what you did. Is that considered fair? I've already let you check me. If you want to leave, you can do so. What? Huo Yuhao didn't expect Tang Wutong to make such a request. He was a little confused, as he couldn't figure out what her goal was. Why are you scared? Tang Wutong looked a little provocative, as she stared at him. Huo Yuhao shook his head and said, that's not a problem. However, I just want to know what you're checking for. What are you trying to feel in me? He was clearly unconvinced that Tang Wutong only wanted to sense his soul power. Tang Wutong pursed her lips and answered, did you tell me the reason when you did this to me before? You only patronized me with a few words. All right. Do it then. Huo Yuhao only wanted to leave now. Furthermore, he was also confident that Tang Wutong wouldn't harm him. The surface of the lake was already frozen solid. Tang Wutong directly walked off of her lotus leaf towards Huo Yuhao. Zhong Lishuan and Han Ruoruo didn't stop her. Everyone was watching quietly. Huo Yuhao was also unaware what Tang Wutong was going to do, much less the rest of the people. The distance between them closed quickly. Tang Wutong stopped in front of Huo Yuhao. She nodded at him and said, I'm going to begin. Huo Yuhao didn't answer, and only quietly spread his arms. It actually looked like he was about to catch her. Tang Wutong's face turned red. After hesitating slightly, she lifted her hands and placed them on his. Tang Wutong's hands were soft and delicate. One could be aroused even touching her tender palms. Huo Yuhao was startled, and tried to force himself to detach Wang Donga from his thoughts. However, he realized that he couldn't do so. Tang Wutong and Wang Donga were simply too alike. Even if they were different people, it was almost impossible to not link them together. It wasn't Huo Yuhao's first time sensing her soul power, and she gradually poured her soul power into his hands. Precisely because he had experienced it before, he knew that Tang Wutong's soul power was extraordinary. Although it wasn't like his ultimate martial soul, Huo Yuhao felt that her soul power was even stronger than his ultimate ice soul power. Her soul power contained something that wasn't in his soul power, something that seemed extraordinary, and seemed to have been enhanced. As for what it was, Huo Yuhao couldn't say in detail. However, he was certain that it existed. Huo Yuhao didn't resist at all. He allowed Tang Wutong to freely pour her soul power into him and touch his soul power. As his cultivation increased, the quality of Huo Yuhao's soul power was not that far from Tang Wutong's, especially after he absorbed the manifold mysterious ice essence, even though there were still some qualitative differences. At this moment, Huo Yuhao suddenly saw Tang Wutong smiling. He was a little stunned when he looked at her, as he didn't know why she was smiling. It was at this time that a pair of huge golden wings appeared behind Tang Wutong. Soul rings also started to surface from her feet. Black, 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 red, and red. There were actually 8 soul rings. They were even fully complementary. There were 6 10,000-year soul rings, and 200,000-year soul rings. Huo Yuhao was astonished at this moment. He also didn't know that Tang Wutong was actually a soul duel. She actually has 8 rings already. She went into closed-door cultivation earlier, so that she could obtain 8 rings. However, even if she has 8 rings and wants to demonstrate her abilities to me, what's the point of doing so? There were dense scaly patterns on her wings, which were dragon wings. Tang Wutong's martial soul was the powerful radiant dragon god's butterfly. Although they were dragon wings, they were still shaped like butterfly wings. Just as Huo Yuhao was confused about what Tang Wutong was doing, her forehead suddenly lit up. A golden trident was exuding a strong glow. Huo Yuhao instantly felt dizzy when he saw the glow from the golden trident. However, there was a weird sense of closeness as well. An astonishing scene appeared. Tang Wutong's wings fluttered gently, and streaks of golden light started to spread out like fog. As these streaks of light quickly spread, they actually surged towards the trident on her forehead, and were quickly absorbed by the golden trident. This was... Huo Yuhao was shocked as he looked at Tang Wutong. He was the closest to her, and her soul power was inside him, and he could feel it most acutely. However, he couldn't understand what was going on. It wasn't just Tang Wutong's wings that had experienced changes. Even the soul power that was pouring into his body was experiencing changes. Some of the changes were more obvious. The something in her soul power that Huo Yuhao had sensed earlier was rapidly weakening, whereas that familiar and close feeling he had sensed was becoming stronger and stronger. The intense discrimination of his soul power was also gradually disappearing. Her soul power and martial soul are actually changing. Is this even possible? Don't tell me that this is her self-invented soul skill. Huo Yuhao was a genius, and believed that he had a deep understanding of soul masters, since he was the person who had invented spirits. Moreover, there were also the Snow Empress, Ice Empress, and Sky Dream Iceworm within him. Much of their knowledge had been imparted to him. However, Huo Yuhao didn't get a reply when he tried to call to them. All of them, including the Ice Bear King and the Star Anise Mysterious Ice Grass, were asleep. They didn't respond at all. Slowly, Huo Yuhao's eyes opened wider and wider. Tang Wutong's wings were gradually changing. First, her scales became illusory, as if they had been absorbed by the wings. The dragon scales gradually disappeared. The original golden glow also slowly dimmed. The edges of the wings started to turn a dim blue. Furthermore, that color was slowly intensifying. The soul power that Tang Wutong poured into him slowly started to change. It was becoming more and more complementary to his soul power, and even started to entangle itself with it. After this, it even slowly, gradually, fused. Huo Yuhao was in a daze right now. Fuse. It actually fused. Even though the speed of fusion is slow, it's still fusing. It's slow, but continuous. It's as if, it's like it was before. Haodong power. Huo Yuhao's heart was shaking. He had only patronizingly raised his hands, but now he subconsciously tightened his grip on hers. The way he looked at her also started to change. The draw from Tang Wutong's forehead was becoming stronger and stronger as golden light fused with the golden trident. The wings behind her back and the scales on her wings had completely disappeared, and were quickly turning blue. There was now a V-shaped golden pattern covering the blue of her wings. It was no longer the radiant dragon god's butterfly. It was the radiant butterfly goddess. Huo Yuhao's heart was completely gripped right now. At this moment, the pain in his heart had completely disappeared. What replaced it was only a strong sense of suffocation. It was his first time experiencing what a miraculous recovery was. At this instant, the seemingly pitch-black night sky had finally brightened up. Tang Wutong looked at Huo Yuhao. There seemed to be boundless love and yearning in her captivating eyes. She smiled, and her discomfort seemed to have disappeared. What was left was only that teasing look. However, there was a crystal-clear tear in her eyes at the same time. On the boat, everyone, including Elder Xian, stood up. They were all stunned. Huo Yuhao didn't know what was going on, and neither did they. No one could guess what had actually happened to Tang Wutong. Finally, the last streak of golden light was absorbed by Tang Wutong's golden trident. What was left was only the combination of blue and gold, the combination that he was most familiar with. The combination that he had been thinking of all this time. Am I in a dream? Huo Yuhao was in a daze as he looked at Tang Wutong. His voice was trembling madly. It was trembling so much that it didn't even seem like he was talking. Idiot, Tang Wutong snorted. Idiot. What a familiar word. Huo Yuhao only felt a stinging feeling in his eyes, and tears flowed out uncontrollably. At this moment, there wasn't any derogatory connotation to this call. It made him feel as if the entire world was blissful. All the negative emotions in his heart seemed to have been split apart and swept away at this moment. He wanted to say something, but there was something in his throat. He couldn't say a single word more. At this moment, soul power surged from Tang Wutong's hands. It was very strong, and instantly surged into Huo Yuhao's body. During this process, Huo Yuhao's mysterious heaven technique was subconsciously fusing with it. Yes. This was the Haodong power that they both possessed. The last time they had fused was on the Sun Moon Empire's battlefield. Back then, Huo Yuhao was not even a soul emperor. Now, they were both soul doluo. The immense soul power raged through Huo Yuhao's body. The soul core on his forehead was stimulated and opened up. His soul power was being enhanced at an alarming speed. It was unprecedentedly strong. Huo Yuhao only felt that countless whirlpools seemed to have appeared in his fluid soul power. Every whirlpool was crazily absorbing and compressing soul power, making him stronger and stronger. He was in control of his soul power. It started to take form as it flowed from his right hand through him, out from his left hand, and entered Tang Wutong. This video will end here.